So let me show you what I've been doing. I'm taking the Quikrete here. This stuff they recommended, the crack resistant 80-pound bags. Been mixing them one at a time in this mixer. And then I've been making a pathway up through here, through the side of my house. It's been different stages here. Those are the two different molds that I've used. I've used this one, which I don't think is a Quikrete mold. Just a mold that I found. And then this one, which is a Quikrete mold. This one is, I think, called English Walkway or Garden Pathway or something weird. But here's how I did this part right up here. I want it to look like it's cut in to this other brick, the cobblestone pathway. So what I did is I laid down these ones, these 5 up here with this first, like this one. First I did a full one of this. First I did a full one of that, and then once that was done, while it was still wet, I put this one, lined it up where it was supposed to be. Okay, let's see here. Looks like we've got a big one there. There it is. So it went in this way, and what I did is I took this and just pushed it nice and easily straight down in, and then removed the pieces that were going to be in the way there from the last one, and then I re-poured this one. So that's the one I've been using mostly. It's coming all the way up here to the gate. And then I started on this side of the gate. This was the first stuff I did. I poured a step there to go into the garage. And then I started pouring these 4. Now, they did overlap a little bit, so I had to cut into one. I poured the full ones by the step. The ones up here were full ones. And then the ones here, I pushed into the other ones, and it cut part of it away. That's cool. It makes a little different pattern when you do that. One of the things I didn't like about mine is I had to use it 2 across. And you could probably see from this way that up the middle, there's a path. There's a right next to Bandit's nose there. There's a line that goes all the way up down through. So I'd like to stagger that and make it look a little different. If I had 3 across, I could do that. Like do 3 and then half and then 2 1/2 on the other side. If you know about doing laminate flooring, you know about how to do that. So this first one, I followed the directions. Had to add just a little bit more water than what was recommended, the 3 quarts, because it was just crumbly at 3 quarts, and I just knew that wasn't right. And I wound up with stuff like this, if you can see. And it wasn't turning out as good as I had expected, but it was turning out okay. So then what I did through here is I decided to, you can see that the surface, the top surface is a little different on these ones. On these ones I took a sponge. After it had gotten like thumbprint dry, a little bit dried, and I just used a regular sponge like that sponge, grabbed some water, and I just rubbed off the top of this, and what happened is the cement and sand that had come to the top started to go off a little bit, and started the aggregate that was in the cement starts to show, where it wouldn't if you didn't do the sponge. So if you want your aggregate to show and have maybe a little bit more traction, you might want to use a sponge. But the rest of it I didn't. And what I was doing is I was redoing it here, and you can see it's kind of crumbly on edges and stuff. I was using the recommended amount of water. And then right here on one of these, I think it was this one right here, I was pouring this block, and I accidentally put too much water in the mix. And then I came and poured it anyways, and it poured perfect. So I'm like, okay, I need to start experimenting with how much water goes into those 80-pound bags. So then as I came down through here, you can see maybe they get a little different or a little better. And finally what I wound up doing is almost doubling the amount of water that was supposed to go in per bag. I was putting about 5 to 6 quarts in before I even poured the sand into, before I put the bag into my mixer. So I almost doubled it. It will take a little bit longer to cure. This stuff down here is still curing. This was, right here was yesterday. That was poured yesterday. This was 2 days ago, this back here. This was 3 days ago. And then 4 days ago, and 5, a long time, about a week ago for that stuff back there. So it'll eventually all be the same color. But one of the big problems I had was the mixture. Make sure that you use plenty of water, more than what's recommended. And then the other thing was what I was using to push in to that mold. And if you have any extra cement, here's a recommendation. Get yourself a board, and at the end of the day when you're saying, okay, I'm done, but I still have all this extra cement, I can't quite pour another one, pour it on a a piece of extra wood here, just as much of a frame as you can get. So you have some extra blocks in case some of the ones that I poured before didn't turn out well. I can replace them with these ones. And then these were the tools I tried using. First of all, I was just using a basic kind of, not a float, but a trowel here, a finishing trowel. And that was hard on the frame, the aggregate, when it got caught in between the two parts of the frame. It was just not letting me push in very well. It was hurting my hand. So then I went to a straight, and that didn't work too well. Same thing, it was just hard to do. So finally, I got a float instead, for doing some grouting work. I used the float. That pushed in really well into the different parts of the mold. So I used a float like that to push everything in, got it fairly smooth, and then at the end, after I took the form off, then I'd take my my finish trowel and I'd get a little finish, a little smoother on there, just to get some edges and to knock down some of the edges here that might be a little not fun to step on and stuff later. I can grind it down later, but if you get it down now, it's a lot easier. So basically the water that you're supposed to add, it says on this to add 3 quarts. No way. I don't think you can do it with 3 quarts. So don't be afraid to add more. The strength of my concrete seems fine. I'm not having any problems. And now it's time. I'm going to bend this pathway down through here. I'm going to bring it right into my shed, right there. And then there'll be concrete, different form on either side. That form, so it'll look like the cobblestone is cut into the regular brick. So I hope it helps some of you out. It wasn't too hard. I think for each bag I got just a little less than 2 forms of those forms. So almost 2 whole forms with 180-pound bag when I was putting in those between 5 and 6 quarts of water. So my suggestion, don't be afraid to put a little bit more water in there and try to do different things to different surfaces to see what you like. If something happens that like this one winds up not being good, you can always take it out and put one of those replacements in. So good luck.